What's up, guys? Welcome to the Peer Review Podcast. My name is Caleb Davis.
And my name is Brett, and we have some notes for today. But first, we just want to check in. We know it's been a little minute. It's exam season, as we know, as most of our audience watching, I'm assuming, is college students. Caleb, how has class been going for you? How have your exams been?
This week and the past few weeks have been a little brutal, leading up to we got Halloween and fall break and stuff like that. I had a big exam yesterday, went pretty well. But yeah, I just been kind of preparing. I got two big supply chain exams next week, so that's kind of where my focus has been. And I'm going down to Howard, well, going up, I guess, but to Howard next weekend for their homecoming. So that'll be fun. And I come back. We got the Michigan versus Michigan State game. I'll be down at Michigan's campus, and then Halloween. So after this week, it's just straight all the way uphill battle. But I'm excited and looking forward to the coming weeks.
Yeah, that's what's up, man. Same here. I had an exam for my corporate strategy class yesterday. I feel like it went pretty well. And then beyond that, I had a presentation today for one of my social media communication classes, and I feel like that went pretty well. We were discussing how to use different like collaboration tools in the workplace, which was pretty fun. And then yesterday, I was on a panel talking about my experience as the executive producer for the documentary I was discussing a couple episodes ago, if anybody remembers. And that's been a really pleasure to work on. Have a great team. They're all very enthusiastic and passionate about the work they're doing there, which is fun. And then yeah, like just been kind of locked in with the academic side of everything. And yeah, I know you mentioned that you're gonna try to come down for the Michigan State game. You gotta try to tap in and play flag football with us, bro. To see if you can get tapped in with Nesby because they're supposed to be doing like a Michigan versus Michigan State flag football game, which I think will be pretty
I
fun.
remember you mentioning that. I
Yeah,
didn't follow up as much as I should, but no, I'd be down if I'm down there and it's going on. We can talk about it after, but we'll make it happen.
bet.
That kind of segues me into I had another thing. I just joined me and my roommate Brandon. We joined one of our friend Herschel, Josh, Evan. It's their flag like I am flag football league. So we joined them. Like I think they have one game left in the regular season, so they picked us up off the waiver. So that's exciting. Our first game Sunday, so looking forward to it. But yeah, without further ado, I can go ahead and get us started. So today we have a new segment for you guys. In light of, like we said, it's been a rough week. We've been very busy with exams and things going on. So we decided to put together a hot take special, is what we're calling it. And essentially, we put together a few of our hot takes that we could find or think of off the top of the head. And we're kind of just going to give our live reactions to those and kind of how we are going to choose to respond. And we did this for both NBA, NFL, and NFL. So, yeah, I can go ahead and kick it off. I'm going to hand this one to you, Brett. The first question: who do you see coming out of the Eastern Conference in the NBA this season? And why? Kind of plead your case.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm just gonna rip the band-aid off. This might be a little bit controversial given the recent trade that has happened, but I'm gonna go with New York Knicks, man. I feel like it's finally their season to come out on top. They got pretty close last season, and I think Cat gives them and Mikal Bridges and OG, and hopefully a healthy OG Anunoby will give them the edge that they need over to win that battle in the Eastern Conference there and make it to the finals at least. I think this year because like people say like, yes, they sadly lost, DiVincenzo and the Power of Friendship squad got broken up before it even really got started. But I think that adding the shooting element with Cat as a big, and then like the pick and pop they can run with Jalen Brunson, I think that'll be very effective, especially in the regular season. I think they'll have no problem reaching at least 50 wins again. They still have Josh Hart, who is a tenacious rebounder at the guard position. And Mikal Bridges adds like that dynamic forward that they're missing, I think, to kind of take some of the scoring load off of Jalen Brunson as well. So I think they're a very like well-rounded team. I don't see like too many holes. And again, Cat showed us last season that his defense can step up in big moments, and that's what they need, I think, to get over the hump. Especially if they get matched up against, Jokic in the Western Conference, depending on or any of this other like dominant center, right? or big from the Western Conference if they make it to the finals or even going in the playoffs. Like obviously, Cat will probably have to check like Giannis or
Giannis, yeah,
Embiid,
I got
etc. So
looking for. Okay,
hmm
I'm
but
kind
yeah,
of
like so yeah, that's what I got.
okay. I'm kind of shocked that we're agreeing on this. So for my pick coming out of the East, I also have the Knicks. And I just want to start. I think they're going to have a great offense next season. I don't think people understand how much Cat is going to open up the floor for Jalen Brunson. Like, yes, Isaiah Hartenstein was a great center, and Mitchell Robinson at times provided some value, but having a center who can shoot like the three above 40%, like they're pick and pop when Cat pops to the top of the key. If you guys have been watching their preseason games, you already see it on full display. That pick and roll, pick and pop game between them two is already starting. They're already starting to gel a bit, and I kind of figured it was going to be a seamless fit because they can play off each other really well. I think the Knicks match up very, very well with the Celtics, who yes, they were the best team in the league this past season, but I'm not as high on them as a lot of people. I think they went through a banged up Eastern Conference. I don't think they had to face the talent that they necessarily should have, based on how the standings broke out. Like they didn't have to play the Knicks, they didn't have to play the Sixers, they didn't really have to play any of the top four best teams in the East. Like if you considered the Bucks, they didn't have to play the Bucks. Like they didn't have to run into any of those teams that had like a juggernaut player. But yeah, this isn't about the Celtics. I'm gonna go back to the Knicks. I think they had last season. I think Jalen Brunson was a top 3 point guard in the league, and yes, that is very, very, very controversial. But like let's paint it out. There was Luka, there was Shea, and then who else was better than Jalen Brunson last season? And don't try to tell me Curry. I'm gonna
In my
just let it
opinion,
be known now.
nobody.
Yeah, don't. I'm not hearing it right now. But that was just the biggest thing. And then he led his team to the semi-conference finals without his second best player and with the rest of his roster just banged up. So I can only imagine how adding a guy like Mikal Bridges, who's an Iron Man, who's gonna fit amazing with Tom Thibodeau, a guy like OG
Has he still
Anunoby.
like never like not played a game
I know he had a
or
season. I think he didn't play one last season because of the trade, but like I don't think to my knowledge that he's even missed a game in his career by his own free will, like well being hurt. Like I think he got benched within that like because of they were tanking, but no, so I just have a lot of faith in the Knicks and I think if they were to match up, I trust Jalen Brunson a little more in the clutch, and like when games start to tighten up, then I trust. This is also a little. This is just my opinion, but then I trust guys like Tatum or like Jalen Brown, and I just think they're gonna match up perfect, and that driving the Knicks are gonna play essentially how I predict them playing. It's very similar to the Celtics with that driving kick style, 5 out ball movement, like picking little handoffs at the top of the key, and I am very excited. And if those two do match up in let's say like an Eastern Conference Finals matchup, I am looking so forward to it. Um, but yeah, while we're talking about the best of the best, we're gonna move over to the West. And I was not trying to rhyme there, but I'll take it. Uh,
hey?
for our next hot take, it is who is coming out of the West and kind of why. So I can go ahead and kick this one off. I personally think the Thunder are going to be the team to beat in the West this year. I think teams like the Nuggets took a step back. I think the Timberwolves took a step back. I don't think the Suns are going to be any good. I'm not banking on like any of those the Mavs. I'm still so on them. I think their offense is going to be great with Clay, but I don't know how that they're going to fit defensively. But let me start it off by saying I think their starting lineup is right up there with the best in the league. Like if you have like the Celtics, Knicks, Thunder, like that, those three teams have the best starting lineups in my opinion. If you saw the lineup they rolled out in preseason the other day, it was Shea, Caruso, Lou Dort, I'm playing Jalen Williams, and then Chet at the five. And offensively, that is a perfect lineup. They gel really well. And I'm banking on this season a lot of the young guys improving because they have another year under their belt. Guys like Chet, like that was his rookie season. He's going to come back better, more experience. Jalen Williams, come back better. All of their guys are going to come back and they're going to be more gelled as one thing. They're going to improve. And I just think the overall their chemistry of their team, they're bringing everyone back. The only guy they added was Hartenstein, and he's not a guy with like a big personality who's gonna. I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but he's not gonna come and upset the locker room or throw anything off. The two things I am a little worried about with them this season are I still think they need one more big, not even necessarily a center, but just a bigger forward because their power forwards they have I'm blanking on Aaron Wiggins and Jalen Williams, and both of them are around 6'4" to 6'6", however, if you're measuring it with or without shoes. So I think that they need a little bit more size because if Chet or Isaiah go down, who's really going to come in? And I'm also a little bit worried about playing time, which is kind of, I guess, crazy to think about. But they have so many talented players on that team, like their entire starting lineup. And then you have about I'd say about their top 8 guys on the team can start on a lot of teams in the league. Like Isaiah Joe can start in the NBA. Isaiah Hartenstein can start in the NBA. Depending on where you place him, like Aaron Wiggins, they're all very solid players. Case and Wallace, just good players all throughout the roster. So they have depth if injuries happen, but you also got to find minutes for all these guys. So, like I said, I think they need a bigger forward. So I could see them kind of possibly consolidating one or two of those guys to bring in a bench guy that could kind of serve that need. But
They should
that's the
trade
biggest thing
trade us for Stu, bro.
for Stu. I think that would. I'm
Yeah.
not mad at that. I'm not mad at that actually.
I don't know
But
who we would want, but I mean, I could help.
yeah, but that's my best in the West. So, Brett, I'll hand it over to you. Who do you have coming out of the West?
Yeah, funny enough, I mean, to nobody's surprise, I also have the Oklahoma City Thunder. I mean, like you said, it's clear that their overall roster is just built leagues above everybody else. Their front office actually understands the concept of a proper roster construction and acquiring players that play well off of each other, which is something that the Pistons have yet to figure out. No shade. We'll talk about them more later. But yeah, like you said, for all those reasons you mentioned, you got guys like Jay Will, Chet, great shot blocking and shooting center that is going to take, like you said, a leap forward this upcoming season. And then SGA is a top 5 player in the league, and yeah, like you said, they're pretty guard heavy with the talent, but I think that barring any injuries, they have, yeah, like you said, like the most talented and well-rounded starting lineup in the league. They fared really well last year. I don't remember exactly how they got eliminated, but I know that
I
I
think
think this season,
they would have
like,
beat the Mavs if Shea doesn't foul on that corner three. I'm
yeah,
just
hmm yeah, and like you said, like you said, for a plethora of reasons also that are external to the team because other teams are probably taking a step back. We saw the Nuggets faltering. I think the for the Mavericks and Knicks trade, excuse me, the Timberwolves and Knicks trade, that the Timberwolves got significantly worse from that. Now that they lost Cat, in my opinion, especially because he was a big reason why I think they were in the games they were in against the Nuggets. Um, yeah, yeah, and again, the Nuggets lost KCP, and a lot of teams have been taking a step back. KD is having issues staying healthy. Um, the Lakers aren't as deep as you would like them to be without LeBron and AD always playing like every single game. So, yeah, I think there are a lot of like external factors that are also boosting the Thunder's chances of succeeding and going to the finals this year.
fair
Not to
enough.
say that they aren't talented in their own right, but those things do help too.
Okay, I'm gonna move us on to our next question. I'm gonna go a little bit out of order here, and I'll hand this one back to you, Brett. But is Jokic still the clear best player in the NBA? And if not, who do you have ahead of him?
Yeah. So I don't know. It's tough because I think he's still just as dominant as he's always been, like in terms of playmaking and understand like his IQ for the game. But he really struggled shooting in the playoffs last year. I'm not sure if it was like a slump or thing, or if it's like a mechanics thing, or like a lack of effort thing, or a mental thing. Like I don't know what exactly it was, but I know that he was struggling immensely in the playoffs last year. And I also think that um there are new up and coming stars that kind of you could argue are playing at a high like a higher level standard of excellence than Jokic has been. Like players like Luka. and Giannis, etc. But I don't know who I like. I think I wanted to talk about this because I'm genuinely curious. I don't really see like in the eras of Michael Jordan or Larry Bird and Magic or LeBron. Um, I don't. I think that like right now there's like a lack of a clear direction of who like the true like number one best player in the league is. People obviously assume it's going to be Wemby once he reaches his full potential, but like as of like this moment, I think he has yet to kind of eclipse those guys. You know what I'm saying? So like as of right now, as it stands, I think it's kind of hard to pick out a clear number one to me.
So you think it's
I don't
kind
know
of,
if you kind of
just
feel
to
yeah.
clarify, you have it more of like an even playing field between like guys like Luka, Jokic, Giannis, and all those kind of.
Yeah, I think they're all like roughly in the same ballpark of like being superstars that are obviously extremely important to their team. But for me, like it doesn't seem like any one of them is like head and shoulders like above everybody else because all of them have like shown that they have weaknesses in certain areas that can be exploited and they're beatable if that makes sense.
Fair enough. I kind of I still have Jokic as the best in the league. Like if gun in my head, you ask me, hey, you have to who a truth serum, however you want to place it. Hey, who is do you think is the best in the league? I still have Jokic. If you asked me a year ago, though, I would have had him like head and shoulders above everyone else. Now I kind of think it's sort of a slight gap, and I think it's a gap. I think the only person who the gap is between is Jokic and then Luka. But I still, if Jokic is here, Luka's like here. I kind of, I guess last year, if you would have asked me, I would have thought if the Nuggets were gonna repeat, I kind of thought the Nuggets were going to go on this generational run just because of how much I believed in Jokic, not even as much to do with his team as a whole. And I think had they not played the Timberwolves, they would have came out of the West and they would have beat the Celtics. But that's a discussion for another day. But I think until a guy like Luka steps up and like when he has to I think to overtake him, you kind of first I think you have to win a title. Like if one of those top guys like Luka or if Embiid pops next year and goes crazy in the playoffs, or Giannis, or even guys like Shea if he comes back as an insane two-way player, they have to win, or you have to get some type of they have to. I don't necessarily want to say they have to win like an MVP, but I think they need to get far in the postseason and preferably win a title.
Yeah,
But as of right now, I still think he has it locked up. I think he's the best scorer in the NBA still. I think he's the most unguardable, especially if he gets his 3-point shot back. That's what kind of lessened the gap a bit. It's made him a little more guardable, a little bit more back down to earth. But I think that is the biggest thing. But I just want to mention, I think Luka is right there on his heels, and if he improves on a lot of the things we noticed in the playoffs last year, I think he'll have a strong argument. But I think it's definitely more up for debate now than it would be a year or two ago.
for
Um,
sure, for sure.
But for my next question or hot take per se, I'm gonna go ahead and kick us off with this one. But it is, who is your sleeper team coming into the postseason? Oh, not the postseason. Excuse me, the NBA season. And I kind of have two teams that I kind of look at as sleeper teams, and I have a feeling we'll have one of these in common. But both of my teams are Florida teams. I have the Heat and the Magic, and I'm gonna start with the Heat's case because a lot of you probably raised an eyebrow hearing that from me, Caleb, the Heat fan, boasting about the Heat. But I genuinely mean it this season. Like if you looked at, I know we don't really care about ESPN's rank, how they rank players and things like that, but how they rank teams. But their projections had the Heat as the 19th best team after the offseason. And I just think we aren't taking into account a lot of the factors surrounding the team. I think that they've been downplayed a lot because of health issues. I think that Bam taking elite playing with Team USA, he's going to come back better, and I think they're going to try a lot harder through the regular season. I think that's been the biggest thing that the Miami Heat are kind of known for is like coasting and just get to the playoffs. But I think Pat Riley coming out at the end of last season, that press conference where he was throwing shots at everybody, pretty much letting it be known that he's not going to tolerate the mess. I expect them, barring, and this goes for any team, barring any significant injury, I expect them to be a top team in the East. When I say top, I mean within a top five seeded team in the East, and I don't think a lot of people have them there as things currently stand. And then that kind of leads me into my next point with the Magic. I think they got a lot better this offseason. I think the addition of KCP, and we've kind of touched on this in other videos, but I think the addition of KCP is going to help them so much. Just as a spot up guy, a guy who can play off ball, he can defend at shooting guard position. Him and Jalen Suggs defensively are going to be great next to one another. And I see them being like a top four seed in the East. I think Paulo is destined to make another leap. He's like one of those guys who has like the size. Like, I'm not saying he's exactly built like LeBron, but he's big and strong and powerful. And I think he's this is the Ben Simmons cliche, but he's like a jump shot away from being like one of the top players in the NBA. And I'm not as high on Franz, but I'm expecting him to improve. But I think if those guys come back better and shooting just a little bit better, I see them being one of the top teams in the East. And I still think that they need a scoring guard. I think a guy like D'Angelo Russell would be great on this team. A guy like, I don't know, Trey Young, just around a bunch of big players who can kind of make up for them defensively. So one thing I think they're missing, but those are my two sleeper teams. If you had to ask me, I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, that's real. Do you think Cole Anthony isn't uh like getting it done on like the scoring end for them?
He's not. He's not. I don't think he's a bad player by any means, but he's more of like a six man. You know, I think he's like a high level bench guard. I wouldn't really want him starting, and I don't think he provides enough scoring and specifically shooting to be like your lead scoring guard. Like if you need a guy to get a bucket, like even like he's not as a six man, he's not a guy you think of like Lou Will or like anything of that ilk.
Right.
But that's the bit. I just think they just need a playmaking go. Well, not even a scoring guard who can shoot the ball like a little better. And is because Jalen Suggs is an okay shooter, but he's not. He's not like Curry. He's not just gonna let it fly. But like a guy like
Yeah, like
D'Lo or
shot
Trae
creator. Yeah,
Young,
yeah, yeah.
they'll
Yeah,
shoot
no,
the
that
ball.
makes sense. No, most
Yeah,
definitely. Oh, by the way, bro, free Trey Young off the Hawks, bro. Like that's unrelated, but like this man has been wasting his career there, just like
long
Lillard
overdue.
was wasting his career in the Blazers, in my opinion.
Uh,
But yeah, going into my picks that are coming out of the East. Excuse me, my sleeper teams. I also had the Magic again for basically most of the reasons that you mentioned. I expect Paulo to take a leap. I expect KCP to add the dynamicism that they're missing from their offense in previous years, to add the spacing. Jalen Suggs shot significantly better last season than he did the year before. He improved by like 8% on his 3-point shooting, which is great. Um, and like you said, Franz Wagner is still young and can take another leap as well at the center position for them. So I think like they're a well-rounded team. And like you said, if they play the cards right, they make some moves, or if somebody else in their team takes an unexpected leap, I definitely think that they could be, like a top four seed in the East right now. I've had them probably like five, six or so. And yeah, and I also think that I honestly think like the excuse me the Pacers, bro. I think like people were hating on Halliburton last year. You know what I'm saying? I feel like a little bit um inadvertently, because like they feel like they were kind of able to scoot by like a weak East that was kind of like injured, but like I feel like he's like basically like the best playmaking guard in the league now, because of his ability to find open, his open teammates, and he's been efficient. Hopefully he can stay healthy for the entire season. But I think like they have a good chance to come out, at least like to make another run again. I don't know if they're gonna make like the finals or anything like that, but I feel like people are kind of totally like forgetting them in the conversation when you talk about teams that can make it out in the East. When you talk about the Bucks or the Knicks or the Celtics, I think they deserve to be at least like top five in that conversation, in my opinion.